So I just finished the main story of Shovel Knight, and let me tell you, it's been the best platformer of 2014, retro or not. Honestly, this game just does everything it's trying to do right, and at the low price of $15, let me tell you, I'm a very happy customer. But anyone can just sit there and tell you that Shovel Knight's amazing and to throw your money at it. Let me tell you why. So without further ado, I'm SteveOHobo, and this is Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight follows the story of, well, Shovel Knight on a quest to stop the evil Enchantress and her Order of No Quarter from taking over the world. Shovel Knight's last quest ended at the Tower of Fate, where his companion Shield Knight was presumably defeated by a cursed amulet. A grieving Shovel Knight then puts his adventuring aside to live alone in peace. During Shovel Knight's absence, the Order of No Quarter took control of the land, and now it's Shovel Knight's job to stop them. On the surface, it's a pretty shallow story, no surprises here. It's obvious though that Shovel Knight's going to be playing on nostalgia, what with the retro aesthetic and the similarity to Mega Man with 8 bosses standing between you and the Enchantress. Despite that though, Shovel Knight doesn't rely on its story, but rather its phenomenal gameplay. In true NES fashion, Shovel Knight throws you into battle immediately after that brief introduction. No time wasted on tutorials. However, you can't just assume the player knows how to play your game, and developer Yacht Club Games knows this. You see, instead of throwing the player into a high-stress situation right out of the gate, you're slowly introduced to new concepts in controlled environments. This is called pacing, and games that are paced well give you time to understand the mechanics of a game. Games that aren't well paced usually have points where the difficulty spikes irregularly. I'm looking at you, Snow Barrel Blast! Massive difficulty spikes are a huge problem and can throw you out of any game. Thankfully, Shovel Knight is paced to near perfection thanks in part to its intro stage. This is Shovel Knight's best asset. Every screen has the purpose of teaching the player something new. For instance, the very first screen has a pile of rubble, and shortly after that, one of these scarab guys. You may run past the rubble, but at the sight of your first enemy, your first instinct is to figure out how to attack. When you defeat that first enemy, you probably realize that your basic attack looks as if you're digging into the dirt. This leads you to believe that you can dig up this pile of dirt with your shovel, revealing the first major mechanic, finding treasure. This screen teaches you to dig up dirt blocks in your way. This screen teaches you to pogo bounce to remove dirt and attack enemies. This screen teaches you to take advantage of the pogo bounce to reach higher areas. This screen teaches you that spikes are lethal, shortly after reaching a checkpoint to save your progress. This mini-boss teaches you that pogo bouncing is the most effective way to stay safe while dealing massive damage to enemies. This screen teaches you that certain objects can be used as projectiles against other enemies. This screen tells you that secret areas are marked with hints to help you find them. This screen teaches you to be wary of your surroundings when looking for secrets, as you could just as easily miss them. And this is only the first stage. Every stage has unique mechanics and set pieces that are tons of fun to play through. I could go on for hours explaining all the ingenious ways the game teaches you how to play without stupid tutorials. And if it isn't teaching you new mechanics, it's testing your new abilities with challenges that slowly ramp up from not so threatening to balls crushingly hard. Yes, this game gets hard, but it's so well paced that I was never frustrated when dying. It was always my fault. Not once did I feel like I was unprepared for the obstacle ahead of me. As you've likely now realized, Shovel Knight takes inspiration from many classic titles like Mega Man, Mega Man X, DuckTales, Castlevania, Dark Souls, Super Mario Bros. 3, and Zelda 2. You'll encounter towns, enemies, wandering mini-bosses, and extra levels to test your new abilities, along with the typical boss levels on the world map, just like Mega Man. Each boss level contains a secret relic that's best used to complete that level, but not required. You have to shell out some cash for them, but it's no big deal if you can't afford them, since you can pick them up in town for a higher price after you've completed that level. These items are very useful, ranging from a locket with the power of granting brief invincibility to a propeller dagger to your good old fishing rod. It has an anchor on it for some reason. I found all these items to be tons of fun to use except for the mobile gear, which seems to only be used in rare situations. Normally, it would be pretty taxing to pause to switch relics all the time, but the Wii U version incorporates the gamepad to switch quickly. I can only imagine the 3DS version does this too with its touchscreen. All the gold you collect is used not only for these relics, but for upgrades to Shovel Knight himself. There's a variety of different armors available for sale, each giving Shovel Knight some new abilities, as well as being able to purchase new shovel attacks, health upgrades, and magic upgrades. One thing I really love about Shovel Knight is that everything has a purpose, since the gold you find isn't just sitting there to be a high score. It's in your best interest to use every last penny in order to finish this adventure, and you get a nice feeling of progression from it. That's another thing I came to love about Shovel Knight. This game makes you feel like a damn badass through its progression, its high stress situations, and its empowering music composed by Jake Kaufman. My god, words cannot describe how kick-ass this soundtrack is. On a different note, the townsfolk all have interesting dialogue, be it comical or helpful, a bit reminiscent of Earthbound. The attention to detail in this game is staggering, showing off the amount of polish put into it. Shovel Knight also has some of the best bosses I've come across in a 2D platformer. Plague Knight, Tinker Knight, Propeller Knight, Black Knight, Polar Knight, all amazing boss battles, and that's only naming a handful. These bosses all have vague patterns of attack, so through practice you'll be able to defeat them, and yet these battles are so dynamic that you never really know where the boss might strike next. And can I just say, that final screen after you land the final hit is amazing. So satisfying. So you've bested each member of the Order of No Quarter and you're ready to take on the Enchantress? Get ready for the toughest stretch of the game. All of your abilities you've come to master are tested in these final stages up to a final battle with Black Knight, where it reveals some interesting information about the Enchantress. After defeating every boss again in an awesome boss rush, which may I add shows off just how much stronger you become, the final stretch is upon you until you finally encounter the Enchantress for an awesome boss fight. And when defeated, it's finally revealed that the Enchantress is in fact Shield Knight under the curse of the amulet. During which may be one of my now favorite final boss fights, Shield Knight and Shovel Knight work together to finish off the remains of the Enchantress. It may not have been the biggest surprise since Black Knight gave it away after his defeat, but it's still a very heartwarming ending, and I still get goosebumps every time that music plays. I only recently entered this realm of gaming we call the indie scene with games like Super Meat Boy and Bastion, and with this amount of creative freedom, you never really know what kind of game you're going to find. Except with Shovel Knight, you see, I went into this game expecting ungodly amounts of fan service to the fans of the NES, and to be honest, I couldn't care about that, as I didn't grow up with the NES. However, a $300,000 Kickstarter gave me the curiosity I needed to purchase Shovel Knight, and I was just stunned at how perfect the main game was, and with free updates arriving in the coming weeks for loads of new content, this adventure is far from over. See, despite all the comparisons to Mega Man and DuckTales and the others, the game managed to do everything it set out to do better than I could have imagined, and it truly stands on its own. To sum it all up, this game is just really damn fun, and I'm having a blast playing it.
I can now say that one of my favorite games of this year came from a small indie studio known only as Yacht Club Games. So hopefully with this video, I might have convinced you to pick it up and give it a shot just to see how much fun you could have. Until next time, I'm SteveOHobo, and I'm gonna play some New Game Plus.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you want to see more SteveOHobo, you can watch this crazy Let's Play of NFL Street, or my feature on Yoshi's Story. I'll see you all next time with another video.